to do some rearranging on my screen, but welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. Glad to see everyone that can make it today, both in person and virtually. And I introduced myself a bit, but I've been in my role as a policy and planning specialist with UW Sustainability for about a month and a half now. So it's been a great onboarding experience. I've gotten to touch a lot of really great projects and information and gotten to learn a lot already. So really happy that I'm able to kind of take the reins for this group and facilitate this meeting and get to understand your goals and interest with relation to the Sustainability Action Plan. So let's jump into some ground rules. So I understand you all have been on these types of meetings, hybrid, virtual, for a few years now with COVID, but I just wanted to remind us all, now that we're using these owls and we're both in person and online, just some like best practices to help us be successful in our discussions. So for those on Zoom, I ask that you raise your hand if you have questions or want to chime in about something. And if you're calling in using your phone, you can dial *9 to raise or lower your hand. And then we also ask that you all in person and online announce your name and entity or department when called on. That way everyone in person kind of knows who's talking online and everyone online knows who's talking in person. So I might be calling us out and just asking that we do that if we forget today, but good practice for us all. And then for those online, if you are talking, just to please mute and turn off your microphone. That way we can limit some background noise. But yeah, appreciate you all just abiding by these best practices. For our agenda today, I'll run through it quickly and then we can jump in, but I wanted to do a little welcome and then leave some room for some general updates. We have an update on the Green Building Standard, air travel emissions reduction updates. Damon's going to give a bit of a promotion for Earth Month, which is this month, and then I'll leave it open to you all for any updates we may have missed or exciting news that you all have. And then a good chunk of today is going to be focused on the Sustainability Action Plan and kind of looking ahead, understanding the efforts that we're currently doing to help prepare ourselves for that kickoff this fall. So I'll kind of cover a bit of what we're doing this spring and summer to implement those planning activities. And then a bit on recruitment, which I know you all have heard a bit about through my emails and kind of spiels on other meetings, but I want to reiterate the importance of that. And then I did a bit of digging and exploring on some other sustainability action plans from other institutions or cities. And so I wanted to just share a bit of those highlights or things that I found interesting from those plans that may inspire us. So that's the agenda. Before jumping in, I wanted to welcome Jeanette James with the Office of Minority Affairs and Diversity. Jeanette is the Senior Director for Strategy and Planning, and I believe is working with you, Ricky.
Yeah, I'm representing the office, but I want to be here for the little handoff.
That's great.
So
yeah,
I'm here today, but welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Jeanette. Do you want to give a little intro?
Sure, I'm happy to. Good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Jeanette James. I'm excited. I actually am really excited to join this committee. I've reviewed the goals and looking forward to learning more, working with you all. And I know that you all are thinking about an equity approach to some of these goals. So hopefully I'll be able to help think through some of that with you. I've been with the University of Washington for 11 years this time. This is my second time at the university. I worked here from 2000 to 2004 with a pre-college program, worked at Seattle Girls School for 9 years, and came back in 2013. So it's wonderful to be with you. I do a lot of the tri-campus initiatives under the University Diversity Officer and role. So campus climate assessment. I work with our Board of Regents, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Advisory Committee, and do a few other things as well. We launched a new anti-racism and DEI training that's required by the state. So a lot of the big projects fall under my my banner. So nice to meet you all and look forward to working with you.
Welcome, and that's so impressive. I'm so glad we have you here in our group and in our efforts for sustainability. So excited to have you. All right, so I also wanted to make sure, is there anyone else new or that maybe hasn't been able to introduce themselves in the past? I just want to welcome anyone new to introduce themselves, and if not, we'll move on. Danny, hey.
He's sitting right next to me and I'm like, hey, you've already been here for 2 days. Yeah, please introduce.
Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, so my name is Danny Arquetti, and I use he, him pronouns, and I am the program director for the Campus Sustainability Fund. Yeah, and this is my second time at UW. I used to work as the mindfulness manager at Recreation prior 2 years ago about, so happy to be back.
Thanks, Danny. Sorry. I
No, it's
forgot.
okay.
Okay. Well, let's jump in. So, the first item on our general updates is the green building standard. So Lisa, I will hand it off to you, and I know we have a couple slides, so I will, put those up for you.
All right, thanks, Lauren. Okay, so I'm gonna talk of just a really quick, very brief, high overview of the new green building standard, which the content of which is pretty much at the finish line. We're finalizing a few things. It's very robust, more complicated than you might think. So I just wanted to give folks an overview of where we're at with that. So next slide, please, Lauren. Okay, so the existing, or what we're calling the old green building standard, in terms of the scope of projects that it covered across our tri-campus, it essentially covers new construction and major renovations. And it had 3 targets. So the water target, 50% below code, energy, 15% below code, and a LEED Gold certification requirement. The next slide. And what we've found, in addition to the need, I think, for a more robust and comprehensive standard for our buildings and facilities, was that the water target was difficult to achieve. So the city of Seattle in particular has a really assertive code in terms of water conservation. And so it was in some ways problematic to kind of establish a standard that often had to be changed or adjusted on a project by project basis. The other piece is that over the last really 2 to 3 years, both the Washington State and the city of Seattle have developed more of a carbon-based code. So we do have EUI, or energy intensity requirements for buildings under both, but we also have carbon reduction requirements and carbon targets for both. So next slide, please. So this is sort of a high-level picture of what the new green building standard will look like. I'm going to start with the scope, or the tiers, on the right of the screen. So it will still cover new construction and major renovation, but we've added the 2, 3, and 4 tiers below. So tier 2 is for partial renovations and interior projects. And this is really significant. You all may or may not know, but facilities and the university as a whole is really trying to work towards using the space that we have. And we have, according to our data, we have the space in general, all the space that we need. There are some buildings or facilities that are deficient, need to be torn down. And so that's not what we're talking about here. But for buildings that, the structural integrity, the age of the building is all in good health or good order, we want to be using that space. That's a real way to conserve embodied carbon and resources, et cetera. So we've added that, tier 2. Tier 3 addresses system upgrades. So when we think about HVAC systems, heat pumps, boilers, and anything that consumes energy or water, the new standard addresses that, and making sure in particular that we're doing a life cycle cost assessment for that equipment that looks at the life cycle costs, so capital and operating costs, as well as the energy that will be consumed by different alternatives over the life of the asset, as well as the emissions over the life of the asset. And tier 4 is more like cosmetic changes to space. And so we have some requirements around that. On the left-hand side, so for water, depending on the type of project, the target is to be 25 to 40% below code. Energy, we're really referencing the EUI requirements for the state or the city in some cases, if you're not on the district, sort of not considered part of the district energy system here at the Seattle campus. Still requiring LEED Gold, whether that's LEED for commercial interiors or LEED for new construction, whatever the applicable LEED Gold route might be. And then this is probably the most exciting part, I think, for a lot of us, is that we have a new embodied carbon target. And so we've talked about this before, but we have never before addressed embodied carbon. It's quickly becoming a new hot topic, and we're seeing it in terms of federal and state requirements for buildings and facilities, and even for HVAC equipment. I think is coming down the corner. Yeah.
Steve has raised his hand on the.
Oh, okay. Steve's probably gonna, did I get something on the card wrong? Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, maybe for a little more context on the no net new space thing before anybody runs amok with what they think that means. So I think you did describe it well, Lisa, but I guess all we're saying, and this is primarily facilities saying this, there's not been a declarative policy statement issued by the president's office. I think they're generally supportive. This is not to say that we'll never do another new building, but we're just saying that while we acknowledge that some of our square feet is not in the right place, it's not in good condition, it may not perform the functions it's being asked to do well. Those are all things we need to address, but we don't necessarily need more square feet on campus, absent, a specific purpose that can't be fulfilled in existing space, or some level of growth which requires more space than we currently have. So I just wanted to add a little bit more meat on that bone, just because things can be misinterpreted, and then
Yeah, thanks, Steve. No, I didn't mean to
Yep.
scare anyone unnecessarily.
and I don't think it's not meant to be scary. It's meant to be like the space we have needs to be better, and we need to spend time and money on it and make it better and invest in it, rather than building our way out of it, with more new space.
Yeah,
Hey,
Luce-
Steve, if I can say the same thing in a different way. It's not that we need new space. It's not that we won't grow new space and build new buildings. It's that if and when we do, we want to, at the same time, divest from the same square footage of infrastructure that is old and tired and inefficient while we do that. So no net new square footage is the policy that we're advocating. And that requires us to plan concurrent projects to take infrastructure off of our roles.
I often use the sock drawer analogy. You get 3 new pairs of socks, you get rid of the worst 3 pairs that you have. You don't just have 3 more pairs of socks. So it's that.
Love it. Okay, thank you.
So think about tier 2, I can assume that there might be lots of requests around renovations and internal, because
Yeah.
while the building and structures and everything is great, they were built at a time, the configuration is not optimal for use.
Yeah.
And I just know like sometimes it's expense, and so, well, I
Yeah.
guess you all probably thought that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. Sometimes it's depending on what needs to be done. I think there are some less intensive major renovations within buildings that are cost effective as compared to building new buildings. There are some where it doesn't make sense to renovate the existing building. That's where I think we have opportunities to build new and get rid of old. And no net new square footage, but you've got a new building that is configured in a way that meets the, the innovation, the pedagogy that needs to be accommodated for the future.
Yeah, so, great questions. I'll just hit on a few points in the middle there and then we can move on to the next agenda item. But, part of this new standard, is no new fossil fuels. So if, the tri-campus for the most part is already all on natural gas. So, but what we are saying is if you're going to build a new building, we don't want that building to be the primary energy source to be gas, for example. You should put in a electric heat pump or connect to the district energy system. In the case of the Seattle campus, we have requirements and a process around a life cycle cost assessment that goes above and beyond state requirements. And then we really want folks on the Seattle campus to connect to the district energy system, which we have plans to transition on fossil fuels. So I'll leave it there. You can expect a lot more information coming, and we have a webinar in May to sort of do the same thing we're doing here in a little bit more detail. So, but yeah, if you have any questions, please shoot me a note.
Great, thank you, Lisa. Thanks for the great questions all. We're gonna go back to the agenda. I think I'm gonna hand it off to you, Jamie, for some
Great.
air travel emissions reduction updates.
All right, hi, everybody. My name is Jamie Mayerfeld. I'm not on Zoom, so I don't have my name there, but I am a professor in the political science department, and I'm also a member of the air travel working group that's been collaborating with the Sustainability Office and trying to grapple with this question of emissions from the challenge of reducing greenhouse gas emissions from air travel. And so we've been working for many years, and the Sustainability Office recently put together an excellent memo, which has been shared with you for this meeting, discussing some proposals about how to meet this challenge. And it was sent forward by the Environmental Stewardship Committee to President Anna-Marie Kause in February. And so the important news that we have to report is that she expressed support, general support for this initiative. She supports efforts to reduce emissions associated with air travel. But she added that she wants this initiative to be led by University of Washington faculty. And so in view of this, the Air Travel Working Group is going to work with the Faculty Council on Campus Planning and Stewardship, FCUPS, to create a resolution, which we intend to present to the Senate early in fall of this year. And the resolution will ask for faculty support and university support and commitment for a new program to reduce University of Washington greenhouse gas emissions linked to air travel. At the same time, we are working very hard to raise general awareness and understanding of the issue. We've been doing this actually for a while through focus groups, through talking to a lot of relevant organizations here on campus. Was it yesterday? I can't remember. Tuesday. Tuesday we had a webinar as part of the Sustainability Office webinar series. I just checked, it's posted, so you can go watch the webinar on this particular issue. And it was an interactive webinar, so we invited input from all the participants, and we got a lot of really great suggestions and reflections on the issue. And so we're planning future events of that kind, including a town hall, I think in next fall, and where we will bring in experts and faculty from other universities in order to learn about what they're doing, because there are similar efforts going on in universities in the United States and in other countries, and we think that we can learn a lot from each other. And I think that's mainly what I want to report to you, but I do want to give Lisa and Marilyn an opportunity to add anything that I might have missed.
That was great, Jamie. I don't have anything to add.
The only thing I'll add is that was a webinar on Tuesday. It was part 1 of 2. So, so Jamie and Jeremy Hess, who's a member of our Environmental Stewardship Committee, and Marilyn were the 3 panelists, and they were really just framing the context, giving some of the data and the background about why this issue is important for our university and for higher ed institutions in general. It's one of our top sources of emissions across the university. And so we have a second webinar, which will talk a little bit more about the framework for addressing this issue and what a program might look like. And it's essentially what we're asking for support for the resolution, is to start a program. So encourage you all to join that webinar. I think it's May 15th. Is that right, Marilyn?
That's right. And I see Ben has his hand up.
Thanks, folks. It's great news that directionally the president's supportive. I guess I'm unclear on what is the process. So we go to the faculty senate and ask for engagement and buy-in, or is we asking them, is the president suggesting that this needs to come up basically through the faculty senate in order for her to take any action on it?
Guess I'll start and Jamie and Lou, fill in anything I missed. Anamari the president was supportive, but really felt like, faculty, this should be faculty led for obvious reasons, just, the requirements for faculty to travel to do research, et cetera, et cetera. So essentially our plan is to go through FCUPS and the faculty senate and ask for a resolution that would then go to the Board of Regents and say the university is committed to starting a new program to address emissions from air travel. The details of that program are yet to be determined. We would assemble a task force, add on to the existing working group that we have, and assemble a task force to figure out what that program looks like. So that's what we're thinking, Ben, is just to go through up through the faculty senate and Board of Regents.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add is, especially as co-chair of this committee on environmental stewardship, it's easy for us as a body, I think, to read the feedback from the president as somewhat dismissive of our work as a committee. That's not the case at all. And you explained it well, Jamie, I think explained it well. It is very important to the president that as we pursue this work, that we're connected to the faculty senate. In her career experience, as you can imagine, she knows very well what the impact of things like this could be on careers of faculty members. And she knows that as the president of the university, she can't move forward without hearing directly from the faculty on what they want to do, what they advocate for, what concerns they have. So that's the feedback. And I explained that we are connected, but this is a little bit of a deeper step, being connected to the point where the faculty senate is kind of leading the effort and providing a very clear perspective to the president for her consideration.
It looks like we have Jeanette and then Jan.
Yes, just a quick question. It does make sense to engage faculty and faculty senate, but there are a lot of other, like I'm even looking at your focus group list. This impacts a lot more than faculty. So how is faculty senate going to be incorporating the concerns that, say, intercollegiate athletics has, or administrative staff who do a lot of conference travel? So how is that going to take place?
I think through this body, we have ICA and Housing and Food Services and medicine represented in this body and should be contributing to adding their perspectives to this body of work, air travel.
Mm-hmm.
But fantastic point, Jeanette. Again, we got the feedback from the president with, real genuine interest in making sure that we're representing the faculty well. But I think it is our job. It's not just the academy. It's the other elements of our institution that are part and parcel of the University of Washington.
there be engagement with cabinet around this other than you by president of the, sorry,
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we ought to, be thoughtful about our next steps. We have the direction, we have some weeks of work in front of us, few months of work in front of us. While that's happening, we ought to think about, you know, do we want to go to, yeah, the cabinet is probably the right body to where you and I, Ricky, can offer at the right time, here's what's happening, we want everyone to be informed, and if there is additional feedback, we welcome it, we want it.
And there's just a request online to repeat the question. So Ricky's question was, is this going to go to the cabinet? Lou, then, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Lauren. So if you guys can, make note of that, I think that's a follow-up that we can have, that I can take lead for in communicating at the right time with cabinet.
Okay.
And I'll, request Ricky's advocacy and support while we do that together.
Great, Jan, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, everybody. Jan Whittington here, co-chair of the Faculty Senate's Faculty Council on Campus Planning and Stewardship. For those of you who don't know me and know that body, we are the body that you are coordinating with on the Faculty Senate, and we've been in recently in fairly tight coordination with ESC's own committee on this subject. So our body is reviewing that information, the existing information, and a draft resolution that was prepared, but then the faculty and FCUPs will put their own stamp on it, let's just say, and we've already started to provide recommendations for how to go forward in a coordinated way so that both faculty and the administrative units that are likely to be most impacted by a program like this are represented. Because the faculty care about administrative units. They don't just care about themselves. So we're already providing recommendations about next steps and how to move forward. And so if people are curious, like we are recommending that FCUPs will continue to coordinate through the end of this year, but it's too late to bring something up in this academic year through the Faculty Senate. So we will launch that process at the beginning of the fall of next year to assure that we can make it up through the Faculty Senate for deliberations. And so if anyone has, questions or concerns and you want to know more about the Faculty Senate and how we work on issues just like this, we're happy to oblige, and we have lots of stories to tell from how we moved the Scope 1 decarbonization, a Class C resolution up through the Faculty Senate last year and the year before. So happy to discuss that with folks.
Thanks, Jan. Go ahead, Jamie.
I just want to briefly say in response to Jeanette's question, that athletics does have a representative on the working group. So they are very much part of this conversation. And medicine, School of Medicine as well.
Thank you.
Fantastic. All right. Well, looking at time, I just want to say kudos to everyone involved in the air travel production efforts with the webinar on Tuesday. I thought it was really well done and pretty good turnout too. So, the momentum is there. I think I'm really excited to hear all these updates from you all. So thanks, Jamie and others. All right, the next item here is Earth Month, which is this month. Very exciting. Damon, I'll hand it up to you.
Yeah, I am Damon Eklund, the communication manager for UW Sustainability Office. Every year we take our office creates kind of a landing page website to share information around Earth Day, Earth Week, Earth Month happening, not just that our office is organizing, but across the campus. So we have sustainability.uw.edu/Earth Day, gets you to all the information. We also work with University Marketing and Communication, and if you haven't seen it, when you leave and check your email, everyone on campus should have gotten an email with information on Earth Month events, but more importantly, with information sharing a lot of sustainability efforts that we've been talking about here. So mentioning the energy transformation strategy, air travel, green buildings. So we've shared that out with campus. In terms of actual Earth Day events, Earth Month events, the big one is coming up on Tuesday. We're having an Earth Day fair in the Ethnic Cultural Center on West Campus with about 24 groups from the university, a lot of student groups, a few other facilities groups such as transportation, recycling, obviously our office and campus sustainability fund, a few academic organizations. The goal of these is just a general kind of tabling fair to give people a chance to talk to a lot of different groups doing sustainability. And this one is generally geared specifically towards a student audience. So lots of RSOs that they can join and information about what's happening around sustainability. We've also got a number of other events. Jamie and Marilyn mentioned they did a webinar on Tuesday around air travel. We've got another webinar coming up on Thursday with Dave Woodson and I think with Lisa around our decarbonization and energy transformation efforts. Unfortunately, at the same time, Earth Lab is also organizing what sounds like a really interesting kind of student opportunity for around climate conversations connections. UW Livewell has a number of group of events, and if you scroll down if you click on that full Earth Month calendar, there are everyone can look at this on their own, but there's things happening pretty much every day for the rest of the month from a variety of groups happening across. So Earth Day is a time when a lot of people that don't necessarily think about sustainability kind of start to think about it. So it's a good time to kind of take advantage of that attention and kind of see what's going on. The other thing that I want to let people know that I will be sharing information is that we also every year have the Sustainability Award Program. Nominations for those are open right now. On the main Earth Day page, there's a link to submit nominations for the Sustainability Awards. I will also be sending the email out shortly to everyone associated with this committee, the ESC stakeholders, and also a number of other emails on campus. We're hoping to get nominations by the end of this month, and we're hoping to do an awards ceremony on May 21st. So again, we'll be sharing all that shortly. But we would love to get a number of nominations. So if there's anyone in your group so that you know of on campus that deserves some recognition for the sustainability initiatives they're taking, the Sustainability Awards are recognize students, staff, faculty, as well as groups and units and departments. And nominations, anyone at the UW community can nominate. So we really rely on nominations coming in. Our office can only connect with so many people on this campus of 100,000 people, and you look at students, staff, faculty, and everyone else involved. So we really rely on the networks of everyone involved to let us know who deserves recognition.
Thank you, Damon. Okay. I want to leave room for any other updates from folks, so please raise your hand or chime in. There's other important information we should know. Right, no news. Well, there's a lot going on, so thanks all for sharing those exciting updates. Very important work. So the next item or section here is the SAP update. So I will go into that. Scroll please. So I wanted to give a bit of kind of a look ahead to what we're going to be working on for the Sustainability Action Plan update. And sorry, moving screens around, so apologies. A few of you may have seen this and heard this information from me already, but I wanted to cover it again for those who might have missed it. and go through a few of these kind of milestones that we're working towards ahead of fall 2024. So we're currently working on developing a scope and a timeline for the Sustainability Action Plan update process. And we really want to lay the groundwork for what this process will look like to ensure it's really accessible for folks to be involved in, and also kind of transparent, and information is being shared to anyone who wants to know what's going on. And that way we can really create a structure that will help us set aggressive and ambitious goals, strategies, and actions for the next 5 years. So that's taking place this spring. Additionally, we're hiring a consultant. An RFQ for that solicitation will be going out soon. We're very, very close to getting it finalized with procurement right now, and we're planning on sending that out to you all once it's finalized, and get some feedback, and then we will officially publish it and start interviewing folks. So we're really excited about that. This consultant will really kind of work hand in hand with UW Sustainability, as well as all of the working groups that will initiate, and this committee, as well as the ESC, to really ensure that there's a great strategy implemented, and that we're able to kind of do the large workload that we're setting out to do. So we are excited to get that assistance. Another piece of the puzzle is recruitment, which I'll touch on in the next slide. So hold tight on that. But some additional work that we're going to be doing is creating a structure of sorts, which for the plan itself. So what does it feel and look like for the next 5 years? What does this plan look like? What are additional tools or dashboards that we want to create to set standards for ourselves, and be able to measure effectively and make sure that our goals are being implemented or achieved. And then additionally, some gap analysis will be done, kind of looking back at what we currently have in our current plan, and maybe, what's missing, or what do we want to make sure is transitioned over to the new plan. I think it's really important to kind of set the tone with a look back to kind of really inform where we want to go. And then finalizing what kind of topics we want to focus on for the plan itself, to create working groups or task forces that will help do this goal setting and strategy and action setting, that will kind of make this all actually implementable. So that's a bit of what's ahead. It's a lot, but we'll keep you all in the loop as we hit all of these kind of milestones in the months ahead. So recruitment, as I said, I was going to come back to this. So I think Lisa showed a similar kind of visual to this, but I just wanted to put on screen. This isn't a finalized or exact structure of what we're going to work with, but I wanted to kind of cover why we are starting recruitment now, to get folks involved in this process that are topic experts, faculty, staff, students, and others who will really inform the development of this plan. It's important to engage a wide range of stakeholders when you're doing any kind of strategic planning, to ensure that you're creating a really diverse perspective, and you're taking in lots of different viewpoints and interests as you create your goals. So by reaching out early in the process to these interested individuals, we can ensure that those, that a holistic approach is something that we're taking seriously. And so to do this, we're going to be inviting some individuals that we're hoping that you all will give us their suggestions for who to reach out to. We're going to be reaching out to them and asking them to be involved, or asking them if they're interested in being involved in this action plan development, update, or revision. We're going to provide them with some information about the current plan, and then additionally kind of what we anticipate the process to be with regard to these working groups. So ideally, there'll be working groups that are focused on different topics that will then kind of come together, share out updates, create really ambitious goals, strategies, and actions that align with these focus pathways or categories. And so, go ahead, Lou. Yeah,
If I could ask a question on that, so
Absolutely.
if I heard you right, you're gonna be looking to request feedback on names in these areas for people to participate.
that's correct. Mhm.
Just a suggestion,
Yeah,
or maybe before we do that, I think there are people that we know are subject matter experts and we plan to reach out and ask them to be involved.
mhm.
Maybe if there's a short list in each one of those boxes of, hey, here's the 2 or 3 or 7 people we know we want to reach out to, or we plan to reach out to, include that may jog some thinking of
Yes.
people to say, well, you know what, this person's missing, or, yeah, that makes sense. That just for what it's worth, I'd love to see that. Just, having gone through this a few years and knowing the people that have been involved in certain things with us before,
Mhm.
be helpful to start there.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you, Lou. And that kind of gets at the how we're going to do this, how we're gonna tackle this recruitment. We have a sustainability directory that kind of does pinpoint certain, professors, departments, other experts in certain departments across the university, that we should be reaching out to. So we definitely will start there. And then additionally, we've started this outreach tracker, which we've gotten a few, I think medicine has, populated it, as well as, UW Recycling has given us a few folks to reach out to. And this tracker itself is just a spreadsheet, asking you to provide contact info as well as work group interests, so like topics of interest that person might want to be in. So we're trying to stay organized, but yeah, using information we already have is something I want to make sure we do. So I'll probably, work with Lisa and others who have that knowledge, foresight, to make sure we're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, but I mean, in addition to reinventing the wheel, just a comment.
Yeah,
While we know there are some people that are subject matter experts that have engaged in the past,
mhm,
I think there's probably a lot that we don't know of people who are interested and have subject matter expertise. So the more we can reach out and ask people to inform us on who those people might be, they may not have time, they may not be able to right now, but I love this idea that you have a database. Let's try to start a conversation, and at the right time, there's probably a lot of untapped potential
okay,
at the University of Washington that we want to introduce to this.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Lou, and I just want to reiterate, I know this seems like may seem like very simple or basic, but the more people that we're able to get involved or get engaged, or even just are aware, the more success we'll have in implementing the plan. So this is not only about helping us figure out goals and targets for the plan itself, but actually making stuff happen, once it's published.
And I think to Lou's point as well, when you just ask someone, hey, who should be involved with this, they may have their own assumptions over who you already know about or not. And so, yeah, having transparency, whether it's just sharing that tracker or a list in some form when you make the ask, I think is a really good idea. So that they're like, oh, this person that my first thought is not here. And so rather than just assuming it's part of the
Yeah.
thing when you have an open-ended ask, so I think that's really good.
awesome. Okay, it takes a team. Thank you. Additionally, I wanted to point out the Student Sustainability Forum. This is a QR code to the interest form that we just published recently. So this Student Sustainability Forum is a way for students to be involved and have kind of a voice in the sustainability action planning process. It will be open to anyone who's interested in sustainability, any students across the tri-campuses. And these individuals will be, invited to be a part of this kind of open forum where we'll meet likely monthly or quarterly, share information out on updates about the action planning process, and then additionally work with them to get their interests, their values, their expertise to inform the plan's development as well. So that, you know, this is gonna be a really, comprehensive plan, and we wanna make sure that students, you know, are involved and have, a very, you know, high level of, engagement with it. Go ahead, Damon.
Yeah, I just want, just for a little bit more context, I think probably people in this group have heard, you know, we've talked about creating a student sustainability committee over the last year and a half, and I think that idea has sort of evolved a little bit into this forum idea, at least early on. There was some thought that creating a committee with sort of set seats and people that were, you know, kind of in roles was going to be maybe a little bit of a barrier, or maybe there wasn't quite exactly the vision for how that would look. And so the idea was, we really want to have this place where there's an avenue for students to get information about sustainability that's very clear on, here's where we can go to get deep information about both the sustainability action plan process, but also all these other efforts, you know, whether it's decarbonization or green buildings or air travel. When we talk to students, oftentimes they feel like they aren't quite sure where to get information. So it's a place where students can go to get information, ask questions, and also share, as Lauren said, share their perspectives. So the idea is that it's sort of this two-way information sharing opportunity for students, and making it kind of a forum idea rather than a committee. The hope is that it feels more inclusive, that students don't feel like they have to sign up for a committee, they don't have to sign up to do all of these, that if they want information on one thing, they can drop into one of these meetings. But also the hope is that there'll be a committed group of students that are sort of involved with this over time, that we can use again as kind of, that maybe be more invested, or that but have more to share. And then we can kind of see how this works and what the actual student needs are as this gets started and evolve as needed. But that's sort of the thought process behind that, for people that have maybe followed some of the updates around the student sustainability committee. That's where that is from.
Thanks, Damon. That's really great context. It's definitely has evolved, and we're just starting now to do some outreach to students directly. I invite you all. Sorry, did someone have a question? Okay. I'm just gonna share the link to the page where you can access the form, interest form itself, and feel free to share that with students who you may know in your circles that would be interested in joining this. Yeah, thanks for all this great feedback. We have about 10 minutes left, so I'm gonna move forward. But just so you know, we'll definitely be sharing reminders and updates with regard to our recruitment process. And we really appreciate everyone's attention and you know, involvement with recruitment. I think it's gonna be really important that we use all of our networks and knowledge here at UW. So I wanted to share a little bit of the research I've done on a few sustainability action plans from other institutions and other cities, and kind of just give us some ideas and inspiration for what our plan might look like. So to start out, when thinking about an action plan or a strategic planning process in general, I think it's helpful to kind of break it down into different elements or kind of categories of what a plan looks like and feels like. So to help us all think about what our plan might look like, I did a little digging and explored other plans. So I'm going to walk through a few of my favorite examples and touch on some of these elements here on the screen, which include the structure and style of the plan, storytelling elements of the plan, methods and measurement. So kind of like how are plans using metrics to ensure that certain actions or goals are being met. And then how are schools or cities tracking the achievement of the plan? So like not only the discrete actions, but the overall process or status of their commitment to sustainability at their school or their city. So jumping in, I'm actually going to skip this video, but I might send it around just for the sake of time. It just kind of, it's really nice. It's from McGill University. It's about 2 minutes, but it goes through their sustainability plan at a high level and how it all works. but I'm gonna skip it because we're low on time, but this Yale, visual here from their sustainability plan, it's a bit hard to read, but I really liked this, this depiction of the hierarchy of their plan and kind of outlining here the 9 ambitions that feed into their overall sustainability vision. Kind of different spokes of the wheel for sustainability. And I think UW has actually used similar kind of visuals in our sustainability efforts and reporting. And so it's interesting to see how all of the spokes of the wheel can support each other and kind of are needed in order to meet the vision of sustainability or the larger overarching goal. And so as we dive into our plans update process, and setting longer term goals for 2030, 2040, 2050, we need to think about how that long-term visioning will impact how we set these, more focused ambitions. So I think having a broad, high-level approach is really important when both starting and, starting a planning process, but also throughout, making sure that you're taking that step back on the balcony and looking like, are we in line with everything else here that's going on? So I really like this. And again, I'll send out kind of the full plans from all of my examples I show. But some questions to think about just with regard to this kind of higher level hierarchy visual is like, what does this look like for each department at UW or each topic group that we're going to be putting together? How do students fit into this and their needs? What does success look like for each of these ambitions? I think there's going to be a lot of detail put into this for our plan, but I think it's really important to understand how all these pieces will fit together at the beginning. So that is something that we'll be undertaking as we get started in the process. Next here, this is an example from the town of Wellesley, which I didn't know Lisa grew up in, actually. It's funny. But I came across their plan and it was actually really well done. And some pieces that I really liked. One was kind of a how to read our plan section. I think we often, for all of us that are working really closely to to a project or to a huge effort or big issue, we kind of forget that, not everyone might know our lingo or might not know how to read a graph the same way we do. So I think it's really important to kind of set a tone and set some instructions or guidelines for those who might be coming across this report, and not really close to sustainability at all. So just having that in mind, I really like that. And then again, most plans use this kind of umbrella or tiered structure. And I know that we currently kind of use that structure as well. It was helpful to see kind of other themes or pathways, topics here. Governance is one that Wellesley uses, and something that, maybe there are certain topics or focuses that UW may have missed in its last action planning process. I know Lisa has mentioned, water, green building, investment, those types of topics weren't necessarily touched upon closely in the last plan, similar with governance and, kind of understanding that gap. What are those gaps that exist and can we incorporate those really important aspects of sustainability into our new plan? Storytelling. I think this is a huge piece to how effectively adopted a plan can be. How personal and connected is a reader or is a user with your plan? So again, from McGill, they, on one of their first pages, they have a student's perspective of the first day on campus. And, I think it sets a really personal tone, one that many of us may, feel connected to working on a university campus. But it's kind of laying out how someone might feel on their first day coming to campus, what they see, what they hear, how they interact with the campus. And then they added a little section on what it might feel like in 5 years if all of our goals are met. So I really like that kind of different framework for understanding where we want to go. Another piece of storytelling here from McGill was they partnered with their architecture school and created a visual of what sustainability could look like on campus in 5 years. highlighting, the electric vehicles, the bus, and increased vegetation, other aspects of their plan that they're hoping to accomplish, a bike center, upcycled sculptures. So I like this, for folks who might not be into reading, 20-page reports, having some visuals is really nice to bring folks to campus and see what you're all working towards. And then another storytelling aspect is mostly more so engagement, is creating a tool or an accessible way for folks outside of your network or outside of the university, your small university community, to engage in the plan's development. So McGill also had this kind of public board that anyone, I think, could contribute to and provide specific suggestions, questions, and post it on this public kind of whiteboard. And they checked it and, started to integrate some of the concerns or suggestions. And I think it's something that we could try to do. I know another campus that we talked to, California, Northridge, California University Northridge, they implemented a kind of write to the plan. So they had just an email that you could write to, and they actually got a few great responses. So another way to engage and tell your story. Moving on to metrics. So how are we going to track performance? I know, UW is really good at tracking, I think, reporting, making sure we have the numbers to back up what we're committing to. And so how are we going to ensure that that is all transparent and, front and center, and how we're setting our goals and how we're tracking our goals. So McGill had metrics connected to each of their categories. So categories like travel and commuting, they're explaining how they're monitoring, the I guess success or the metrics over time to influence the status of the goal and how far they've made it in meeting it. Provide some context, and also some ideas of where they want this goal to go. So the desired trend there, they want to increase the percentage of electric and hybrid vehicles and decrease the number of kilometers traveled by directly funded air travel. So just some ways to visually show how you're measuring your impact.
Lauren, I just want to be aware we did.
We're hitting 3
so-
o'clock. That's fair. One last, I think we're nearing the end anyways, but tracking, this was a really great tool California State University in Northridge put up. This is a way, again, to track the overall performance of and progress of their actual sustainability plan itself and the actions that they set. So it's interactive. I'll share this as a reference as well. You can go in and see for a specific action, what that action is, where it's at in the status, if they've started it, and it will be updated in real time. So it's a very kind of alive way and transparent way to see where you're at with your planning.
Lauren, I'll add for that last one.
Yeah.
One thing we liked was just that they integrated finances with that. You'll see the upfront capital cost. They haven't filled it in yet, annual cost savings, and they may not be applicable to all actions, but I think that's a great piece to have available.
Thanks, Lisa. Just some key takeaways that I had was umbrella structures, or that nesting, I think is really helpful to understand, to manage the components of your plan, but also kind of communicate them and track them. I think it's something we're already doing, but to make sure that we're continuing that approach is important. Personal connection and storytelling, as I said, can really inspire a shared vision and shared accountability for sustainability on campus. You get folks connected and kind of have this caring for, the campus and the overall world and sustainability. I think it can really help improve the effectiveness of, the actions you're trying to take on campus and the support you're getting from kind of the outside world. Transparency, again, ensuring that awareness and alignment between internal efforts as well as external efforts are there and in place. And then monitoring in progress so that we can ensure that we're executing the actions that we set out to take in, in the timeline that we want to do them in. And we can also help us identify some pain points or other kind of issues along the way, we're closely monitoring that progress. All right, some big questions for you to think about as we adjourn here. So, you know, at our next meeting, I might bring this up again, but just thinking about what caught your attention in these examples. And then do you have any ideas or inspirations that you hope to have integrated into the next action plan? And are there elements from the previous action plan that you hope to see carried over? These are things that I'm thinking about, and then I hope that you all will take this home and think about it as well. Homework, I'll be following up with the SAP recruitment tracker and working with you all to ensure that we're reaching out to the right folks, and that, you know, as we talked about, we're not reinventing the wheel on who's involved, and making sure we're able to identify anyone who we've missed along the way. And then I'd like you all to review and provide input on the RFQ that we'll be sending out likely next week. And you'll be receiving some communications from either Lisa or myself about that. So thanks all. I know it's about 3 minutes over, but I appreciate you all sitting through and listening. The next meeting is on May 9th, and we'll definitely be in touch if that needs to be rescheduled or moved around. But anything else Lisa or others have before we sign off?
No, thanks, Lauren, for a great meeting.
Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thanks,
Thanks
everybody.
all. Have a great night.